Please remain standing. Miss Emily Paul will bless the proceedings.
Gracious and loving God, we give you thanks for your goodness. We thank you for your love. We thank you because you're God. We just stopped by to say thank you for waking us up this morning. We clothe us in our right minds, and even as we are at this hour, we know it is because of you why we are still on the land of the living. As we gather this evening for this particular event, we ask your blessings upon the proceedings. We pray, O God, that what is said and done will be to your honor and your glory. We pray, O God, that our representatives from the various constituencies in the Labour Party, which has formed the government, will bring forth what they have planned to sustain our country. Father God, we can't do it without you. So, Lord, we put our trust in you. We praise you for where you have brought us from, and we continue to trust you and not trace you. We ask you to go before us now. Let your Holy Spirit tabernacle with us, and may everything be done decently in order. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Ms. Paul. Good afternoon once again. My name is Adelcia Connor Falance. I'm the press secretary to the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis. Let me welcome you all to our very first national town hall meeting. In our presence here, we have the Deputy Prime Minister, Honorable Dr. Jeffrey Hanley, the Attorney General, Honorable Garth Wilkin, Honorable Masha Henderson, Honorable Samuel Duggins, Honorable Dr. Joyelle Clark, and Honorable Iseline Phillip. Let me apologize for the Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Dr. Terence Drew, who is unable to attend today due to family matters. The Honorable Conris Maynard will be with us shortly as he's currently in another meeting. So ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and fellow citizens and residents, I wish you all a pleasant evening once again and welcome you to our National Town Hall meeting. It is indeed with great pleasure and immense pride that we gather here today to celebrate the 1-year anniversary of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party administration. Under the theme Sustainably Soaring Together, Empowering Our Future, we reflect on a year of progress, dedication, and determination in shaping a brighter and more promising future for our beloved nation. Over the past year, your government has laid the foundation for a stronger and more resilient St. Kitts and Nevis. The St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party administration has been committed to fostering economic prosperity, social inclusion, and environmental sustainability. Through strategic policies and programs, your government has embraced innovation and harnessed the power of diverse talents to drive progress in every sector. And today, each minister will share with you the major developments over the past year within their respective ministries and the future initiatives that they will be implementing as a government. We work together towards transforming our Twin Island Federation into a sustainable island state based on the 7 key pillars that were introduced to you in August of 2022: food security, green energy transition, economic diversification, sustainable industries, the creative economy, COVID-19 recovery, and social protection. As we convene our National Town Hall meeting, let us foster an atmosphere of utmost respect, open-mindedness, and inclusivity. Every person here has a crucial role in our collective destiny, and we are one people and one federation. So we must engage in constructive dialogue, listening to diverse perspectives, and with understanding. Our conduct should exemplify the values of cooperation, collaboration, and shared commitment to our sustainable agenda. And without further ado, we will share a video presentation which basically outlines the progress that has been happening thus far.
Transforming St. Kitts and Nevis for a brighter tomorrow. Our government is committed to a sustainable island state where togetherness and resilience unite in a transformative journey. Enhanced accessibility and quality through reforms, modern equipment, and skilled professionals. Remarkable rebound and transformation within prudent policies and strategic partnerships. Strengthened security forces, for safer communities and citizen protection, revolutionizing schools, equipping students for a high-tech world, providing safe, comfortable homes to nurture pride and stability, expanded influence, new opportunities for trade and investment, protecting rights and interests, fostering a fair business environment, increased power output, subsidies for electricity, exploring renewable energy, nurturing talent and celebrating our heritage, empowering farmers for bountiful harvest, improving lives with higher minimum wages and better working conditions, forge key partnerships, increased airlift for economic growth, ensuring every voice is heard and needs addressed, conservation efforts for future generations, supporting marginalized members of society. Together, we are building a beacon of hope and opportunity, forging a brighter future for St. Kitts and Nevis. Our one-year progress proves our unwavering commitment to a sustainable island state.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen, a short video showing highlights of the progress within our federation thus far. Your government is working for you. At this point, we'll call the Deputy Prime Minister who will deliver some brief remarks.
Thank you very much, Press Secretary. A very pleasant good afternoon to each and every one gathered here. Allow me, however, to recognize our Governor Deputy, Ambassador Comrade Walford Gums, our distinguished cabinet colleagues at the head table, and as you heard from the press secretary, the Prime Minister is not here with us this afternoon as he prepares to bury his dad tomorrow. We continue to pray God's strength, and I'm happy to be able to deliver his remarks in this our town hall meeting. Good afternoon, fellow citizens, residents, all who are viewing and listening on the various media platforms. I am pleased to welcome you to this national town hall event held under the theme Sustainably Soaring Together, Empowering Our Future. I must pause here to say that we could not be here today in a free and democratic and progressive St. Kitts and Nevis without being able to stand on the shoulders of those great ancestors who fought and died for the freedoms we enjoy today. So on this day, August 1st, on which 189 years ago, our ancestors finally earned their freedom and was emancipated, I ask that we just stand and observe a moment of silence in their memory. We must never forget. Thank you very much. My dear brothers and sisters, in just 4 days, your St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party administration will be celebrating 1 year in office, 1 year of service our people and nation. We are grateful for the opportunity you have given us, and therefore it is important that as part of our celebration and the commemoration of 1 year in office, that we engage and dialogue with you on the past year and our plans for the future. My fellow cabinet ministers will present to you shortly on the developments within their respective ministries. I am extremely proud of our team and the extensive work they have put in over the past year and tremendous benefits they have brought to our dear nation. Let us give all of them, or all of us, a round of applause. This afternoon, we come together to celebrate not just a milestone, but a vision for the transformation of our beloved nation. Together, we have demonstrated the power of unity and the strength that comes from working hand in hand towards a common vision. Guided by our sheer vision of sustainable growth and development, we have endeavored to create an environment where every citizen is empowered to rise, flourish, and achieve their full potential. Your government's vision to resolve to transform St. Kitts and Nevis into a sustainable island state where prosperity, environmental consciousness, and social progress unite in harmony. In the past year, we have made significant strides towards this vision, and it is an honor to share some of the key achievements of your government. We have invested in the education of our youth, recognizing that they are the architects of our future. By providing access to quality education and vocational training, we have unlocked opportunities and nurtured the skills necessary for a skilled and adaptable workforce. Education is a cornerstone of progress, and we believe that no student should be hindered by the weight of high interest rates. Therefore, we have reduced students' loan interest rates at the Development Bank from 9% to 5%, paving the way for our youth to pursue knowledge without the burden of financial strain. Cognizant of the financial struggles which resulted on the pandemic, your government chose to absorb the tuition costs for every student at the Clarence Fitzroy Bryant College, opening the door for more families to provide higher education for their children. As we endeavor to improve the lives of our people, we recognize the significance of ensuring affordable access to essential goods. To this end, we are allowing barrels and containers of foodstuff up to 400 pounds in weight to enter duty-free, making life a little easier for our families. Our commitment to the well-being of our citizens is unwavering. We have worked tirelessly to enhance healthcare services, promote public safety, and strengthen social welfare programs. Empowering our people with the tools to lead healthy, fulfilling lives remain at the heart of our agenda. We understand the value of a thriving healthcare system. Your Ministry of Health is being strengthened with a full cadre of administrative and technical officers, ensuring that our citizens receive the care they deserve. We are continually striving for excellence in our healthcare services. We have established a 24/7 doctor service at the Paxson Medical Center and provided life support system training to over 250 healthcare workers, ensuring top-notch medical care for all. As we strive for enhanced healthcare services, we have introduced former nurses to assist at the Jane France Hospital, lowering the wait time and providing expedited care. In our pursuit for cutting-edge medical facilities, we have upgraded the chemical cabinet at the oncology unit and introduced the automated urinalysis machine at the JNM France lab, reinforcing our commitment to the health and well-being of our citizens. Our elderly citizens hold a special place in our hearts. We have welcomed 10 elderly care assistants at the Carding home, ensuring our senior citizens receive the utmost care and respect they deserve. To provide seamless access to essential medical services, we have extended the operating hours of the Josephine France Blood Bank, guaranteeing timely and efficient care. Throughout the challenging times of COVID-19 pandemic, we have stood steadfast in supporting our citizens and frontliners. As a first act in office, we removed all COVID-19 related health and travel restrictions, acknowledging the resilience of our people. Furthermore, recognizing the hardships faced by our businesses during the pandemic, we have introduced a small business loan of $20,000 from the Development Bank, providing essential support to those affected by the economic downturn. We have also extended a financial assistance program for the children in dire need of medical treatment overseas, ensuring that their health knows no boundaries, essentially saving the lives of numerous children. In an unprecedented move, we paid 2 CBI dividends to our people, sharing the benefits of our citizenship by investment program with every citizen of our nation. Recognizing the importance of programs that foster peace and progress, we have launched the Elevate program to replace the Alternative Lifestyle Pathways program, foregoing new pathways towards a brighter future for our young people. We believe in the value of hard work and dedication. Thus, we have reinstated payments of gratuity to scores of retired government auxiliary employees known as the GAEs, who served a minimum of 10 years, rectifying past injustices and honoring their dedicated service. Recognizing the vital role of our female leaders, we have proudly installed the first female Governor General, Her Excellency Dame Marcella Liebert, GCMG Jeppy, a trailblazer and an inspiration to our nation. In addition to the key achievements under my portfolio, that is the Prime Minister's, I am immensely proud to highlight the remarkable strides made by other ministers of government. Their dedication and hard work have been instrumental in advancing our vision for a better St. Kitts and Nevis. The commitment to eradicating poverty has been resolute. We have reformed and relaunched the Poverty Alleviation Program, empowering our citizens with opportunities to rise above challenges and achieve prosperity. Our commitment to sustainable development extends to housing as well. The launch of the Climate Smart Housing Program stands a testament to our efforts to create a greener, more resilient future for all our citizens. Furthermore, we have dedicated ourselves to protecting and preserving our natural heritage with a profound respect for our environment. We have pursued sustainable practices to ensure that future generations inherit a pristine and thriving ecosystem. A stable electricity supply is essential for progress. We are making great strides to achieve this goal and have taken the step to subsidizing fuel costs to lighten the financial burden on our citizens and residents. Our commitment to good governance is exemplified by the enacting of over 20 new laws, each designed to uplift the lives of our people and create a stronger, more just society. These achievements stand as milestones in our journey towards progress and prosperity. As I stand here this afternoon, I acknowledge the collective efforts of our entire government. Each minister's contributions has been instrumental in achieving our shared goals. In the coming minutes, you will have the opportunity to hear more comprehensive presentations from each minister highlighting their ministry's respective achievements. This afternoon, we celebrate the progress we have made as a nation and the bright future ahead. None of this would be possible without the trust and support of the citizens and residents of St. Kitts and Nevis. Together, we will sustainably soar to new heights, empowered by harmony and vision that defines our nation. Thank you, and may God bless St. Kitts and Nevis.
Thank you, Deputy Prime Minister, for setting the tone for this evening's panel discussion. Each minister will now give short presentations on the key achievements and initiatives within their respective ministries. Please be reminded that you're allotted a short time, 3 to 5 minutes, after which we will go into our question and answer section. We'll start with the Deputy Prime Minister. Or would you like for me to pass on to the Attorney General?
To the far end.
Okay, we'll start on the far end. Honorable Iceline Phillip, you can proceed with your presentation.
Sure. Thank you very much, Madam Press Secretary. Thank you very much for the listening audience and those here. It's a pleasure for us to be here to be able to share what we've been doing in the past year. So for me, of course, with my remit as Minister with responsibility for youth empowerment, aging, disabilities, social development, and gender affairs, I'm just going to highlight some key achievements that we've been able to accomplish over the past 12 months at this point. So starting with obviously youth, aging, and disabilities, we, as you would know, have launched that ministry. That's a new ministry that was launched in order to bring attention to these particular groups, which is our youth population, our aging population, and persons with disabilities. And that is particularly in line with our sustainable development goals. We would have, through this new ministry, established a disability services unit, which has been successful at increasing engagement with persons with disabilities. I'm sorry, could you please, thank you, which would have been able to increase outreach with persons with disabilities. And so that has been monumental, since we've been able to really connect and engage a lot more with persons in the community. So we have a list items of things that we have for the upcoming year. As you know, this will be the first year that we've been able to actually have this focus. And so it has really assisted with us getting to know more about what the needs of this population is, so that we can actually plan better programming and assistance and outreach for the population. We've also been able to establish the Seniors Day program that's part of our aging programming, So our Seniors Day program is continued to be ongoing. It's been quite a success. Our seniors are particularly enjoying that. We piloted in 3 community centers, and we have plans to establish it and expand it into more community centers in the upcoming year based on how well it has been going. So that is a particularly great achievement, since that's something that was promised within the manifesto for us. We've also, in aging, we have actually increased our cohort of home care officers. We know that the need for home care for our seniors is increasing. We would have recently graduated, I think, about 2 cohorts this year of persons who would have received training at the Clarence Fitzgerald Bryant College on gerontology and elderly care. And so we've actually been able to hire a number of persons through the step to become home care officers, to actually increase the number of home care officers we have going out to support persons in the community. And so that's been quite significant, since we see that the need has been growing. In relation to youth, we were committed this year to have a revitalization of youth with staff, as well as with our summer camp programming. We would have concluded just this week on Sunday, we would have concluded our 2-week youth summer camp, which was Summer Camp 40. It was extremely successful. The campers were extremely happy leaving the camp. Myself and Senior Minister Deputy Prime Minister Dr. Hanley were there to see the campers off. And of course, we were able to revitalize camp in a way where over the past years it was reduced to 1 week, and because of the pandemic, it was also virtual. But we're happy that we were able to be outside again with our camp, and we actually look forward to planning camp bigger and better next year. One of the most significant aspects of this camp, I think, for this year was that we focused a lot on teaching the young people life skills. So we had how do I sessions, and we actually had some facilitators come in to be able to teach our young people, engage our young people about things like social security, financial planning, finding a job. And so we really tried to make an effort to teach our young people survival skills, life skills, things that they need to know. And so that went off pretty successfully. So I'd actually like to take the opportunity to thank all of our stakeholders, the volunteers, everybody in the youth department, staff, for really pulling together to make Summer Camp 40 the success that it was. So that's in relation to youth, aging, and disabilities. Of course, through social development and gender affairs, we have part of the social protection framework. We have social services that continues to work very hard to deliver our social assistance programs. We have a cohort of social assistance programs, including the poverty alleviation program, but as well, we have reinstituted and have been delivering our school uniform assistance, our food voucher assistance, burial assistance, as well as medical assistance. All of these social assistance programs are ongoing, and the demand continues to be great, and we really do try to see how we can support persons. And so we have been able to accomplish that and continue doing that. And with that, we continue to do outreach and research, because we recognize that there's still a lot of need. And so we continuously see how we can improve our programming and to be able to identify opportunities to be able to support our vulnerable populations through programming and through different types of assistance. Of course, I know the PAP is something that is always on people's minds. We were committed to restructuring that program, and that is still ongoing. You'd have heard different presentations just in terms of what that restructuring looks like. That is still ongoing. There are plans for myself and the PS to be on In Focus again tomorrow to give some updates on that. And so I would actually defer and allow my other colleagues to present on their ministries and the successes there, just so that I don't belabor the point too much and speak too much on one thing. So I would leave it there for now and pass on to my honorable senator.
Thank you, Minister. It's important that I start my very brief summary with a note of thanks to all the workers in the Ministry of Sustainable Development, Environment, Climate Action, and Constituency Empowerment. It has been a year of changes and restructuring. Some of the staff we started with, including PS Sharon Ratan, are not with us anymore. So the ministry has had some serious changes, but we have worked collaboratively to ensure that we have the right policy and a very aggressive climate action agenda and a land policy that benefits everyone. So thank you to the ministry and the staff. In terms of what we would think would be the highlights for the ministry, it speaks specifically to our land policy and our sustainable development goals agenda and our recent presentation of our voluntary national review to the UN just 2 weeks ago, and also our mandate for pushing the sustainable island state agenda. So I'll start firstly by saying that we all know, and I think every one of us in here have felt the real sting of the challenging land policies or lack of land policies for the country. There's no clear mandate on how you access land, who access lands, even though rules exist. And the ministry took upon itself to restructure an age-old problem. It's been 1 year, and we're finally at the point where we can resume our land payments. We mentioned that just a couple weeks ago in our press conference, and also to make some significant but positive changes in our land policy. That has been a very challenging process, and I must use this opportunity to thank PS Door Tyson and the technical team, which meets very regularly from all of the departments in the ministry: physical planning, urban development, lands and surveys, the administrative office, and land sales, to really restructure land sales and land access to benefit the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. As it relates to our sustainability and the policy agenda around it, St. Kitts and Nevis, we have commitments internationally and regionally, which we have to stick to. And one of them is presenting our status on the attainment of the Sustainable Development Goals, or what is also known as the SDGs, all 17 of them, for the 2030 agenda. And with partnership with the Minister of Infrastructure, Water, Energy et al., our country was able to present its first BNR to the UN and to the world. We were last in the Eastern Caribbean, I think in the Caribbean as well, but we did it, and I'm very proud. And again, I want to just acknowledge the leadership and support of the Minister of Water, Energy et al. Collaboration really moves mountain, and St. Kitts was able to do something that we've not done ever. So join me in giving the minister and the ministry a round of applause for that. Importantly, as it relates to data, the Ministry of Constituency Empowerment has recently launched and has focused primarily on data collection to drive decision making. What we've noticed, and I say this as a major accomplishment, that we've taken about 6 months to observe, to collect data. And we realize that there are challenges in our communities. There are things that we need to solve. So, again, in partnership with the Ministry of Social Development, for us, this is a major accomplishment that we have more data to substantiate some of the critical programs from the Ministry of Social Development, whether it relates to eradication of pit latrines, which is part of our SDG agenda, or improvements in the housing stock, or just providing more social services for persons. This is really critical, and it's something that I'm very proud of the Ministry of Environment, Constituency Empowerment et al., and the director and the support staff who have been doing a tremendous job. And finally, I want to speak to policies and plans for the future. A critical part of sustainable development is future proofing our country. And that really speaks to how we prepare as St. Kitts and Nevis, not just for us, but for the future, for the young people. And we cannot have a sustainable island state or a country that is in existence for our future if we don't look at how we consume now. And that's why our very aggressive climate action agenda is so critical. We've been pushing recycling, the ban on single use plastics, the No Plastic Mondays campaign, and every single project in partnership with the Ministry of Economic Development and the Minister of Economic Development to ensure that we have a national development plan that will be launched very shortly from his ministry to give us a direction on where we should go. So, from the Ministry of Sustainable Development, Climate Action, Environment, and Constituency Empowerment, I'm very proud as the minister to report that we have worked on the data, the policy, and improving processes to ensure you have access to land, you have a clean St. Kitts and Nevis, and you have a country to call your own for many generations. It's been a good year, and I'm happy. Thank you.
Yes, I guess that's my turn. And so I want to bid all present, both via the media and who's here with us in physical form, a wonderful afternoon. Now, as we sit here getting ready to celebrate our 1 year in office, I must say I am extremely delighted. I am delighted, one, because I could say we've had a successful year as a government. And I want you all to give my colleagues and our esteemed Prime Minister a round of applause. But I'm also delighted because for me, I had my own personal challenge to myself and been challenged by the public. And as I review the past year, I want to say that I feel extremely successful in the endeavors. Now, in my case, I have to flip a couple of hats, so bear with me, right? And I want to start by talking about the work that we're doing in sports and creative economy. And as the Minister of Sports and the Creative Economy, we really took on a very aggressive agenda to upgrade our sporting facilities. Now, the truth is this. Upon review, we recognize that 90, well, maybe not 90, I want to be a bit more accurate. 75 to 80% of our sporting facilities not really receive any significant upgrade for the past nearly a decade. And that was a problem. And so we, in the past year, would have begun work on a number of our facilities. I'm happy to report that we have already started sourcing the materials and getting ready to actually do the physical work on the Kim Collins Stadium. Everything from upgrading the track, repairing the roof on the building, replacing the seating, a full comprehensive overhaul almost for the Kim Collins Stadium, our premier athletic stadium. And so a lot of work has been going on there to get that up to date. We've also done some work in the St. Peter's area on the Atiba Harris football stadium facility. We also doing some work in the Connery area where we have plans that are about to begin in building out a new football stadium in Connery. And we've updated the cricket facility in Connery as well. We've done some work in Halfway. We've done some work in Newtown, where we see the Newtown playing field and the condition that that pavilion has been in for some time. Not only does it look horrible, it is also a safety hazard. And we have been working at fixing that. And so, yes, in sports, we've had a very comprehensive overhaul of our facilities. But I want to take some time away from the doom and gloom in sports to celebrate our successes. Because while the facilities are not up to date, somehow our athletes have continued to perform extremely well. And this year, that's right. This year, we've seen our footballers who would have made it to the Gold Cup for the first time ever. And that deserves commending. Sorry. As we proceed, I want to also give credit to our track and field athletes as well. We would have seen them perform exceptionally well at a number of games. Um, we saw them at the Carifta games. We've seen them at the Alba games, and also to our athletes who participated in the Special Olympics, bringing home Olympic gold medals for St. Kitts and Nevis. And so it's all well to say that sports is moving forward incredibly well, notwithstanding the challenges posed on entering office. Creative economy. The creative economy was launched officially last weekend. And by all accounts, it was a spectacular event. And I want to say this. When we got into office, we recognized the need to consolidate all the different arms that dealt with the creative arts, culture, and what we would call the orange economy. And we did that. And then we had to structure a comprehensive plan for all the departments to work cohesively and work on the same agenda. And we did that. And we were able to launch that. One of the impressive things that we launched, as promised, was the Creative Arts Fund, where we would now be able to support our creatives financially with grants and financial support to really get going and get their craft up and to a standard that is global. But I also want to talk about some of the work that's been done. We had our ambassador, Kelvin Benjamin, who took a team to Jamaica. And we will hear a lot more of that in short order because they did some excellent work in Jamaica. We also launched our other ambassador, Mr. Henry, as we popularly know him as DJ Terror. And he, again, right now is touring out in North America, putting the name of St. Kitts further on the map. So again, we see our creatives doing wonderful work. One of the other areas that we were happy to launch was a concept proposed for a Creative Arts Center. And that is a phenomenal facility that we are getting ready to bring to our people of St. Kitts and Nevis. So again, it's fair to say that the creative economy is developing quite well. And allow me to flip hats a little bit now again to small business and entrepreneurship. As a minister also responsible for small business and entrepreneurship, I want to speak to that ministry because it's another new ministry that was created once we got into office. And we thought that small businesses being a driving force of any economy needed a special focus. We needed to hone in on our small business people and make sure that they had all the tools and support that they needed. And I'm happy to say that we are gearing up for the official launch of that ministry after putting together a very comprehensive plan. You'd have heard parts and parcels of that plan being echoed. We have the low interest loans at the development bank, which will be available to finance our small business development. But we have also been in communication with a number of other financial institutions, including the St. Kitts Nevis National Bank, to have a number of these facilities ready for our small businesses. The aim is to ensure that small businesses have very favorable rates so that they can in turn develop their businesses in a climate that has been challenging post-COVID. So far, we have not had any discussion with any interest rate above 2.5%. And so those discussions are going pretty well, if you ask me, considering business loans were typically 7, 8, 9, 10, 11%. We are now down to most loans being under 2.5%. And I think that is quite impressive for the work being done at the Small Business Ministry. But beyond just the loans, we offer a number of training workshops and collaborative support seminars. And I believe once the ministry is launched officially in the week of the 21st of August, we're going to see a lot more being rolled out in support of our small businesses, where we would have created the one-stop shop, where you could walk in, come with an idea, you register your business license, you get training and development. We direct you to appropriate financing. We continue to monitor and evaluate. We network you with the right people, help you to market, and ensure some level of success as much as we can for each and every small business. This is what we're trying to create, to develop an economy with successful, thriving small business and small business people that are well-trained and prepared to conduct business. And so I'll leave that because I don't have all the time in the world, and I know it could be a bit much. But before I go on, I want to talk about agriculture, fisheries, marine resources, and cannabis. And you would have seen, we would have successfully launched our 25 by 25 agenda, which is just simply the agriculture's way forward to reduce our food import bill by 25% by 2025. Now, this is significant for a country like ours because our food import bill currently stands at $197 million, roughly $200 million. And if we're saying that we want to reduce that by 25%, we recognize that that's somewhere close to $50 million. What does this mean for our people? It means that we want to take $50 million that was flying off of the tarmac and going overseas and keep that here and put it into the hands of our farming community. Now, I think that's a significant effort by any measure. And if you put $50 million into the hands of the farming community, it only helps the country to rise because that is the most vulnerable sector. And so we are launching a number of initiatives, our greenhouse villages. We are also doing a lot of work with our fishermen and women. And we are also doing a lot of work with our agro-processors. I am happy to say that the Indian government is coming on board to assist with our agro-processing, and a number of other regional entities, CARICOM, OECS, are also coming on board in supporting our efforts. So look out for that success of 25 by 25 agenda. And I'm saying to all of you here, now, if any other time, is the ideal time to become farmers. And so I'm looking forward to more farmers being developed in St. Kitts and Nevis. I also want to talk about our cannabis industry real quickly. You would have seen over the last few months, we did a very extensive legislative overhaul as it relates to a number of the elements surrounding the cannabis industry. And I don't want to take the esteemed Attorney General's role here, and I'll let him talk about his own area, but we did the legislative overhaul to prepare for a successful cannabis industry. And we have, I think it's one final piece of legislation to put before the House. And after that, it's time to go. Officially, St. Kitts and Nevis is gone on its way for a thriving cannabis industry. And I believe to have all of that done in 1 year is extremely impressive. So again, I want to thank all of you. Thank you. I want to thank all of you here and listening for your support and your commitment. Because when we got in, we did not expect what we saw when what we met. However, we recognize governments are successive, and rather than complaining and pointing fingers, we doubled down and got to work. And yes, it was challenging. Yes, we had sometimes where, people may have doubted, but we're here 1 year, and the success is tremendous. So thank you for your support.
Good afternoon, all. Can't believe it's a year already. And 2 ministries fall under my portfolio, which is the Ministry of Tourism and the Ministry of Labor and Employment. And when I say the Ministry of Tourism, I must mention our sister agencies in the industry because I think sometimes it's overlooked, but all of us work in this industry to put this nice tourism product that we export. And I'll say some more about that. So with the ministry, we have the St. Kitts Tourism Authority. We have the St. Christopher Air and Seaports Authority. We have the Urban Development Corporation, that's UDC, and we have Frigate Bay Development Corporation. So those 4 state-owned entities worked along with the ministry, where we sit here with our stakeholders on the ground and we create a tourism product that's exported. We don't create it to sell here. So there's a misconception that the minister and her team is always on a plane. But what we do in the ministry
is we create a tourism product and then it is exported into what we call the source markets. The source markets is where we target visitors who we want to come here. So when I became the minister, we had clear objectives, what we wanted to do with the product. The product was relatively stale. So we got in and we launched a new campaign. There were 3 things that we wanted to do. And if I can say that the first year has been successful, of course, that's as a result of all the work of the sister agencies that I just mentioned, along with the ministry. So the first thing was to increase airlift into the destination. So that means if you have a product, you're selling it somewhere, we want people to come here. For people to come here, we need to have lift, meaning we have to have flights. So we wanted to increase flights. Then, of course, we wanted to increase our room stock because airlift depends on the number of rooms you have, hotel rooms. And so one of the things we focused on as well is the development of hotels. And so, of course, that involves working with the Ministry of Economic Development. We also wanted to diversify our offerings. Remember, I said we were of the view that the product was stale because we're not only selling for ourselves, we're competing with several destinations. And so we're competing with Antigua, Jamaica, Barbados, Bahamas, all those other destinations that are out there. We have to get our product there and compete with them. We felt we had to diversify what we offer, meaning we had to offer more than the sun, more than Frigate Bay, the beach, and more than the sand. You could get that in Jamaica, you could get that in Bahamas. And so we had to diversify our offerings and our services. Hence the Venture Deeper campaign, working with our stakeholders to make this tourism product fresh. And lastly, the 4th thing was to improve our relationships with our stakeholders, continuous training to make sure that they're up to scratch, that, they understand, they're aware of what's happening on the destination, and to improve our facilities. That's the air and seaports. On the first objective in terms of increasing airlifts, I am happy to say that we have now made on the hope of making the destination year-round. That's one thing I forgot. We have a destination that's considered seasonal. So for now, it's considered the slow period. The high period is usually October when the cruise season starts, and the winter season, which starts in November up to April. So you'd find people who work in the industry are on a slow period between April to October again. Our hope is to make a destination year-round. We started the work within the first year, and we've gotten JetBlue. JetBlue is going to be flying year-round. All year. All the legacy carriers, they come in November and they end in May, April. We have managed in our first year, with the hopes of making the destination a year-round destination, to get JetBlue, who is going to be flying year-round. It's not going to be seasonal. In addition to that, we got United Airlines to extend its schedule beyond April to August. So United will be coming in from November this year. So right now they're not here. They're going to be coming in November, and their schedule will now go up to August. That takes us even closer to being a year-round destination. So we're strategic. Don't bother when they say we're on plane. We're in Lyman. We are working. We also have Caribbean Airlines, and they launched, and they said, y'all heard them yourselves, they will be 5 days a week, and that's year-round. So that's additional lift to the Federation within the region, within our major source market, which is the US. The US is our biggest source market, and we do have British Airways that comes year-round. Now, this, of course, would affect our stayovers. That means people who come and stay in our hotels. So we've accomplished our first round of making our destination no longer seasonal, but year-round. And that's major. It provides work for our people in what we call the slow season. So give our government a round of applause. We are working with the Ministry of Economic Development, forgive me, to get more hotels because we need to increase our room stock. And of course, this includes Airbnb. So those of you who want to add little apartments onto your homes or little villas, we will encourage you. We will have concessions for those things. You could liaise with us in the ministry because it adds to our numbers. The more rooms we have, the more visitors we can have. So we are conscious within this term. Of course, we're going to have a second term. This is not a political meeting, but just let me slip that in. In the first 5 years, we want to be able to have our room stock increased as well. And so we are working with our senior minister to get more hotels on the ground that will increase our room stock. We want to work with our people as well to get more Airbnb. That counts and goes towards the room stock. It's only the first year. I can say that we've had significant discussions with potential developers in terms of getting those rooms. In terms of diversifying, and I haven't touched cruise tourism, which is, we've never really struggled there. But what we wanted to do within our first year is to increase and it will improve our facilities. So the airport and the seaport. We continue, I see a number of persons who work at the port. I'm happy to see you all, but we continue to work with our people at the port to improve our customer service, which is a big thing. We've gotten a number of complaints, and it's a continuous effort where we would work with our people to make sure that when the first set of people our visitors meet are the most pleasant persons. So we continue our efforts to train, and not only our people, not only our capacity, but also the ports. So we are shortly going to put out the RFP, which is a request for proposal, as it relates to some work to be done on the airport. That couldn't be done any sooner because we had the welcome center erected as a result of the protocols that were in place for COVID. Once they were dismantled, we moved to getting the apron repaired. And so we are working up on our ports. We completed the dredging work down at the pier, and we are continuing. Hopefully, sometime soon, we can have a brand new airport once the Prime Minister finds the money for us. Then we are diversifying our offerings, meaning if you have a product, a tourism product, we want to keep it fresh and relevant. So when you go to some other destinations and they have sexy things, when you come to St. Kitts, it mustn't just be Frigate Bay and Friars Bay. There must be things for our visitors to do. So we ventured into cannabis tourism, and it's not that we want everybody to be high, but we want to enhance the visitor experience. So when we went to the budget discussions in December, that was one of the things we discussed. If you all are following, you would see there's a request for proposal for a master grower. We want to have a master grower who would work with us in the ministry. All of this is out there. We're transparent. So persons can't say, we just went to pick up somebody. People need to follow. We have an RFP out for a master grower who would work with us in the ministry, who would create our strains and help us with cannabis within tourism. We're also doing it medicinal, and that is in agriculture, but in tourism as well. We are trying to diversify. I see some faces looking strange, but we have to compete. We can't be last. We will never be last in everything. And so outside of our offerings, we are big on eco tourism. We are big on sustainable tourism. We have a lot to offer, and we continue to work with our partners within the ministry to diversify what we offer. Lastly is our continuous work with our stakeholders. And so I've seen a lot of chatter about the government wanting to keep down the small man. The industry is governed by policies, procedure, and legislation, law. If it is, we wish to make those changes. then we would need to change the law. But we cannot be seen to be breaking the law. For example, you cannot just go and set up in Frigate Bay. You must apply for permission. If you apply for permission and it's refused, there is a process as well. But you certainly just cannot go and set up within what we call a prescribed area under the Prescribed Areas Act, which is in place since 1996, even before I even dreamt of being the minister. And that act governs what and regulates the areas. So there are areas you cannot go up on Timothy Hill to the top and just put up your grill. Nobody is trying to take $1 out of your mouth, but there are rules. We continue to work with our stakeholders. We are open within the ministry for you to come down and get guidance. We will help you. We will help you. We will guide you along the way. But there are processes. And so during this off season, we've had a number of consultations, and all of this is towards enhancing the overall visitor experience. Not that we want to stop anybody from working, but so that at the end of the day, when we go back to meet with our partners internationally, they can say, oh, the visitor said they had the best time in St. Kitts. The only way that can be done is if we work with our stakeholders on the ground, and we are doing that right now during this period. And so all of that we've managed to do in 1 year. We're working with our stakeholders. We're doing consultations right now, and we're clearly on our way to becoming a year-round destination and a sustainable island state as well. In the Ministry of Labor and Employment, and we're having partnerships. I just got a message from my PS, who is here as well, that we continue to work within the ministry as well to ensure that we are protectors of the environment. We just completed our Green Summer Camp, where we had a number of campers and we reminded them of the importance of having a destination. If we don't take care of it, 20 years from now, not only wouldn't we have anything to sell to visitors, we won't have anywhere to live. And so it is important for us as stakeholders within the industry to have sustainable practices within tourism. And so we have a whole sustainable destination council within the ministry. We're going around on Saturday collecting plastic bottles and echoing the message from the Ministry of Environment that we need to work together to make this a sustainable destination, so that when visitors come 20 years from now, they will have something to come towards. And finally, in the Ministry of Labor and Employment, within 1 year, when we were on the campaign trail, we promised that we were going to have a revision. Well, I look at the minimum wage with the hopes of revising it upwards. The committee was put in place, and I'm pleased to say that they've worked diligently and they've submitted their report. The committee comprised a number of stakeholders, including the Central Bank, Social Security, the Chamber of Commerce, the union, the St. Kitts Nevis Trades and Labor Union, representatives from Nevis, and even from St. Kitts. And they worked diligently, made their recommendations for the consideration of Cabinet. I am not going to say much more, but we should have some word on that. The Prime Minister isn't here, but he will have a say on that. We've done our part within the ministry. We've put the tripartite committee back together, and the tripartite committee comprises representatives from government, representatives from the worker, which is the Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and the Workers' Union, and representatives from the Trades and Labor Union. As a group called the tripartite committee, we sit together, and our objective is to have some revision towards the labor laws. We've had a number of complaints, particularly about the protection of employment and how workers are no longer protected. Well, the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party came out of the Workers' Union, and our policies are geared as a government towards protecting workers as well as employers. But we certainly believe in protecting workers, and we have a number of initiatives for next year. But within the ministry, we focused a lot on the minimum wage based on what we would have promised. And so going forward, we need to be working with the National Development Plan on what the plans are going forward to make us a sustainable island state, and how do we assess our labor force to see where the gaps are and what we need to do to have a just transitioning of our labor force into a sustainable island state, what jobs are needed, whether we have the correct skill sets on island. So all of that we're working on within the ministry. So I think we've done well. You can look forward as well to another productive year within both ministries. And I want to take this opportunity to thank all the persons who work with us in both ministries and in our sister agencies as well for all the hard work over the year. Thank you.
Sorry, before you continue, Honorable Conress Maynard, let me please remind the audience to place your phones on silent or turn them off. We need to avoid the disturbances. Please to put your phones on silent or turn them off. Thank you.
Pleasant good afternoon to everyone. Good afternoon, colleagues, Deputy Prime Minister, Cabinet colleagues, as we march towards our first year in office and basically completing about 7 months of our first budget. So we still have some work to do to finish our first budget. I'm responsible, as you know, for infrastructure, public infrastructure, energy, water, domestic transport, ICT, and post, and I'll give some brief highlights of our time thus far. We could start with infrastructure. The government has identified that the building out of our infrastructure is a critical part of our development towards a sustainable island state. In the first instance, we have embarked on a resurfacing campaign. And so we've resurfaced a number of inner roads in the Boyd's community, in Trafalgar, Market Street, Spot Street are some of the examples. But then outside of just doing some resurfacing, we are also looking at the bigger correction of roads that have been really neglected for some time. I speak in particular of the St. Peter's Main Road. During the last iteration of the Island Main Road rehabilitation, the St. Peter's Main Road was not included. And we are proud in this administration to have set aside significant resources to get that started this year. The tender is out for that, and I think the deadline is in 2 days, August 3rd or thereabout. So if you were intending on bidding for the St. Peter's Main Road, you only have 2 days left. After that, of course, an evaluation is done of those who would have put in bids, and then we get to the point where we start construction. That is still a few weeks out. There are a lot of little niggles to do. There's also presently a tender out for the project manager of that road. Because it's such a big project, it's probably around a $10 million project. We want to make sure that we have a dedicated construction project manager. And so that present tender is out. So those interested and who have the capabilities to manage such a big project, please go and get your tender from the Public Works Department. We have also started with our new road developments as well. So in constituency number 4, had the auspices of being the first new road development, and Stone Fort. I need to take a visit. It's almost done. It's almost done by now. I need to take a visit to see how it's doing. But these roads cost significant amount of money. And I want to commend the government at this point, because at the start of our budget cycle, we could only budget for how much we think we can fit into 1 year. So at the start of the year, we had the budget only allowed for really one major road project for the year, new road project. However, as we are a progressive government and we are doing what we need to do to be fiscally prudent, the cabinet has since approved for us to continue with new road developments and will inject multiple millions of dollars, maybe close to $30 million over the coming months towards new road developments. Those will include roads such as Shadwell West and South Housing, right? I hear people calling some names. There are plenty roads to do. So we have to do them in order. We're going to do a little bit around the country as we go. So Shadwell West, South Housing, that's, you know where Shadwell West is. Boyd's View, we're looking at Palmetto Point, Bar Meadows, that's in Sandy Point. Notice I skipped over number 4 there because you have yours already, so you're already in the list. Race Course, that's in Newton Ground, Rollins Extension, in St. Paul's, Lodge Project, White House Gardens in St. Peter's, Stapleton Extension, and Gundo. That is going to take our first tranche of a massive injection into new road developments. They will continue, but that is the first tranche. So put your hands together for for that. That's major. So over the coming months, this will go into the next year. But over the coming months, these are the road projects that you can look forward to start. Many of them are in phases, so they will not be completed all in the first go, but in an effort to assist all the communities that have been waiting for roads for a long time, the government has decided to move on this and from our ministry, Public Works. We have also embarked on road maintenance, of course. Potholes are a thing that will happen, right? And we are working on improving our responsive time, but those depend on the resources you have and the equipment you have. So we are presently working to improve that. But if you note, one of the improvements that we have done is usually when in the past, when you see a pothole, they would come and just throw some asphalt in the pothole and that's it. This time we're taking it out, cutting out the area, and properly addressing that particular pothole so that it does not occur again. So when you drive along the bypass, you will see that there are some big squares or big areas. That is because it is anticipating that some of the other areas around it will also pop up as potholes. So we're doing a sort of preventative maintenance while fixing that in the interim before the road is actually repaved once again. A road is supposed to last at least 10 to 15 years. And obviously, we won't be able to pave all the roads all the time, but the maintenance strategy has been adjusted to try and eliminate the reoccurrence of some of those potholes. Also, we had to do significant work on getting the asphalt plant not to die. It was on its last thread, so we had to pause for a moment in the beginning of the year just to get it to survive. Very shortly, the cabinet will be faced with making a decision on a new asphalt plant, and we are briefed on that, and I'm pretty sure that I'm going to get the support when the time comes. The last thing is, we all know that there is improvement that is needed in our public works and how we do business in public works. And so over the coming months, we have embarked upon engaging the necessary resources to make public works an envious department in government, right? I know tourism has a lot of style. When they have things, they're all nice and, everything all pretty up and so on, sexy. Well, that's what the minister says. We want public works to be a high, top quality public infrastructure department. It's going to take us some time, but we have started that process. In fact, since I've come to government, I have hardly seen opportunities for us to engage, for instance, with the experts overseas in other territories on how we are going to improve the performance of public works. And so I've mandated in the ministry that we are going to engage those professionals. And so that is presently ongoing. So that's road maintenance. And then we go on to energy. When we came in, we were on the brink of load shedding. Some generators died. We had an emergency situation, and we're not out of the woods yet. because these investments should really be done. They take many, many years to happen, and we were really on the brink. But through the support of this government and the progressiveness of our government and the attention being paid now in the Ministry of Energy, we have been able to stabilize the power generation in Skelec. Of course, it's not perfect, but we are much better than where we were when we came to office. And so, yes, we are going to still have maintenance outages and so on, because we do not have the full capacity yet in the power station, but we are getting there. We had we had procured new generators when we came in, and we are about to procure some new generators as well, so that the load can be properly balanced between our smaller generators that we have. So that continues. Very importantly, the government had committed, when we were in the campaign, the political party had committed, the St. Kitts Labour Party had committed that we would give some support when it comes to your electricity bill. Well, we have more than exceeded the commitment that we made at the time, because presently the government is paying what is called the FBC. So if you look on your bill, you will see what the FBC charge is. Over the last umpteen months, the government has been paying that bill to the tune of $2 to $3, maybe up to $10 million a month that we are actually subsidizing for the users of electricity. So your electricity is being subsidized by the government to the tune of multiple $million every single month. So we have given much more than we actually committed to give, but we thought that it was necessary as we recover from COVID to provide that particular ease. So the government is providing a significant subsidy when it comes to the fuel variation charge. We signed off when we got into government on the geothermal project in Nevis. This has tremendous amount of potential, and so this released about $70 million, I think, in grant type funds for there to be the construction of the production wells for the geothermal plant. Everything goes well with that. In 2 to 3 years, we anticipate that we will be able to have geothermal power. That leads us to the importance of creating St. Kitts and Nevis as one grid, which is putting a electric line under the sea from St. Kitts to Nevis to tie the grids, so that any power we generate in St. Kitts or any power we generate in Nevis can be shared with the other island. So Skelec right now is in the process of creating the respective RFPs and engaging stakeholders to achieve this. And added to that, of course, is they're presently working on an RFP to invite renewable energy supply. We are presently engaged in finalizing where we are going on certain renewable energy projects, and as soon as that finalization is made, we will make the relevant announcements of which direction we are going. We are working on an electric vehicle policy to identify the policy regarding how we will deal with electric vehicles. As the Minister of Energy, you might have heard the Prime Minister speak about it. As the Minister of Energy, I have taken the lead. I have gotten an electric vehicle myself so that I can be the guinea pig to see how it works. At present, I am able to charge at my home. I can plug into the electric outlet, or I have a charger that I can charge the vehicle using 240 volts. And at our present rates of electricity, it will cost me about $50 to charge my vehicle. If I had to pay gas, it would cost me maybe about $200. And so, but we have to manage this, because if we put a lot of electric vehicles in the system, then the load at the power station goes up, and that has implications. So we have to do it all together. And so we are working on an electric vehicle policy. Additionally, right now, the energy that we're generating is generated from fossil fuels. we would want that the energy we produce is not from fossil fuels, it's renewable, so that when you do have electric vehicles, you're using renewable energy as well. But even so, if we were to get, just imagine in an exaggerated situation, if we are committed to reducing our carbon footprint, mass production of electricity is always cheaper. So even if we were to take all the cars and turn them electric, it would reduce our carbon footprint, even if we had to produce that energy via fossil fuels, right? So we are presently developing that. And also with that, because there are so many aspects of the energy sector, we are fine-tuning what we will call the national energy strategy or policy, so that we are governed as to how much of which type of energy we should be investing in. When it comes to water, we know that this has been a very serious problem. I must state that it's very disappointing to have come to the ministry responsible for water and found that there was no serious attention paid to this problem for many, many years. It is really, really disheartening to know that there was not much attention paid whatsoever. The decisions that we are taking now as a government, if they were taken just 5 years ago, 7 years ago, we will not be in the situation that we're in today. So, what are we facing? We don't have 24/7 water. I'm looking at someone in the audience, who calls me every time Sunday he doesn't have water to get ready to go to church. And so we don't have 24/7 water. So what have we done? Firstly, we engage Royal Utilities, which provides water to Marriott to provide desalinated water to our system. So in the very beginning, early of this year, we were receiving 150,000 gallons of water per day from Royal Utilities. We have now engaged them to increase that to 400,000 gallons a day. That will happen hopefully by the end of this month. BEAD is now back on the ground and drilling for water in Keyon. When I visited a few days ago, they were at about 360 feet. I presume they're a bit deeper by now. I'm going to get the updated figures. But the hope there is that we are going to produce 500,000 gallons worth of water. That will definitely assist in alleviating the problem in Keyon. When we address the problem in Keyon, we can send more water to St. Peter's. When they are finished drilling the well in Keyon and it is successful, we will then move to Shadwell, where there is an existing well that needs further addressing. Once we're able to address that, we anticipate we could get maybe about an additional 300,000 gallons of water. So immediately there, you see that's about 800,000 gallons of water to our system, plus the 400,000 gallons of water from Marriott. And we are pleased to announce that the Cabinet and the Procurement Board has sanctioned the construction of a 2 million gallon desal plant that will belong to the government of St. Kitts and Nevis. So in the next couple months, we will embark on the construction of a desal plant in the Basta area. We're now finalizing the details, but that is going to alleviate the issues that we also have in the Basta region. So my hope is that, all going well, this would be the last drought that we are affected by. All going well. But of course, we do have procurement issues globally. If we are off by a week, things can get pushed back by 6 months. And that's the reality in some of the production material that is needed to build this plant. If we are off by a week, it could push back by 6 months. We also will look at the exploration of all of our existing wells. So we're going to engage a professional hydrogeologist to identify where else on St. Kitts do we have water. We'll identify those areas and we'll proceed to drill as many of those wells as possible, even if we don't need the water in the particular area. and then we can cap them such that whenever we need water, we have already had the wells, and use that to interconnect our systems. With respect to ICT, I know my colleagues are probably saying I'm going very long, but these are some critical issues. These are critical issues. Can't live without water and energy right now. But so let's go to ICT very quickly. ICT, one of the things, ICT is responsible, of course, for our network and infrastructure. There's a lot we may not say all the time about ICT, but you must know that people are always trying to hack our systems. And so we are constantly trying to see how we can protect our systems. And we have taken some decisions to try as best as possible to protect our systems. And so that is something that we're paying attention to. We have partnered with the Republic of China on Taiwan for the development of a digital ID, where each person will have a digital ID to facilitate our digital transformation, so that all of your information will be securely kept in the different departments, whether it's at Inland Revenue, wherever your information is presently kept, it will stay there. Then we will have a system where this different systems can call upon these other systems to get your information so that you don't have to go and carry them. So if you need a proof of address, when you show up with your digital ID will link to your particular address. Or if it is your criminal record, it will link to your criminal record. And then finally, let's stop at the post. This leads then to the national addressing system. I spoke about this before, but I'll speak about it here. No longer we want to eliminate. I live down by the breadfruit tree, around the corner with the white car, with the flat tire, and then you pass through this other area. National addressing system will identify the address of every single lot in St. Kitts and Nevis. That is ongoing at the post office. We anticipate that we will complete the exercise this year, such that very shortly, everyone will have their address. So I will leave it there for now.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let me take the opportunity at this time to thank the Prime Minister, the Deputy Prime Minister, and my cabinet colleagues for giving me the opportunity over the past year to serve the good people of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. It's one of the best things I've done in my life, and I'm very happy about it. It is very rewarding to work every day for the people of a country that I love so much. We've been working hard at the Ministry of Justice and Legal Affairs and the Attorney General's Office. We are proud to say that we have consulted with the ministries, drafted, tabled, and passed 23 bills in the National Assembly over the past year. All of which are important, but because the Minister of Energy took up so much of my time, I won't go through all 23. I will summarize some of what I think were the most important. We're very proud to amend the Domestic Violence Act so that women and men who are subject to domestic violence have easier access to protection orders. We did that very early on, and we're very proud of that legislation. We're extremely proud of the changes we made to the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank legislation, as well as creating the Afreximbank Agreement Act, which allows our country to access $1.5 billion of capital that has been set aside to be developed for projects in energy and water and so forth. We were last when we met with the central bank governor. We were last in the OECS in terms of enacting legislation, and now we're heading for first. So I'm very proud of that. The good governance legislation. This is something that has been very important. This was a message that was given out on the campaign trail, and we are proud that we have made it a reality, and we have stamped our mark in ensuring that we eradicate corruption from our society by the passage of the Anti-Corruption Act, the amendments to the Integrity in Public Life Act, as well as the Freedom of Information Act. And it isn't just words on paper. We put our money where our mouth is by showing up yesterday afternoon to the Integrity Commission office when the members of cabinet, all who were on island, showed up and submitted our first declarations of income, assets, and liabilities, which is a commitment that was made and a commitment that has been kept. We want to lead the way in terms of showing the region the best way to fight corruption, because corruption prevents our sustainable island state plan. It drains the treasury, and we want to prevent further hands from going into the cookie jar. So we're very proud of that legislation, and we'll continue to implement it. We're also very proud of our cannabis-related legislative agenda, the freedom of conscience legislation, the amendments to the Drugs Act to decriminalize possession of small amounts and cultivation of small amounts of cannabis, our amendment to the criminal records legislation, which allowed many more of our people to have their records cleared when they were convicted of minor cannabis-related offenses, the Rastafari Rights Recognition Act, which is unique in the region, and I think is probably the best way and the first place, I would say, in the world to give Rasta their, I don't want to say reparations, but to give them the respect that they deserve and to respect their rights as a community accepted in our society for many decades. We're also proud of the Smoking Designated Areas Act, which is really a public health act. People have the right to smoke, and people have the right to not have smoke blown into their faces, especially our people who are asthmatic. So we are happy that we created what we believe is the best middle ground in relation to smoking in public by creating specific areas for persons who wish to smoke downwind, away from other persons who don't want to experience smoke. We saw the first example of that at the St. Kitts Music Festival with the high-rise designated area, which was downwind. And many persons have come up to me and said, AG, we're very happy that that is in place. So we're very proud of that. We are also quite proud of our CBI strengthening. When we entered into office, CBI, our Citizenship by Investment program, was like a stage 4 cancer patient suffering from corruption and greed cancer. And I don't say that lightly. We had to rescue it. In December, we created new regulations which strengthened it to try and eliminate the corruption that was going on. And we further made some strong and brave changes led by the Prime Minister last week in relation to that program so that we can continue to have it and fight for it, because we've had it for 40 years and we're not going to let a few bad characters take it down, because we're very proud of what it has allowed our country to do over the last 40 years. And in terms of our good name, which is very important to everyone at this table and our Prime Minister, I'm proud to say that St. Kitts and Nevis was elected by the Attorneys Generals and Law Ministers in the Commonwealth to serve on a special action group of 9 nations. So the 56 members of the Commonwealth voted me and our country to serve on a 9-member committee to advise the Commonwealth on the rule of law and equal access to justice throughout the Commonwealth. We're very proud of that. And also, St. Kitts and Nevis has been appointed to the Executive Council of the Executive Committee of the Council of Legal Education, which is the regional committee that deals with law schools and the training of lawyers throughout the region. So we're also very proud of that. We also volunteered to serve on the Financial Action Task Force Risk Trends and Method Group on money laundering risks associated with citizenship and residency by investment programs. That allows us to advocate on the international stage to show that we are a good nation, we believe in our laws, and that we will comply with any anti-money laundering and anti-terrorist financing issues that arise in the international community to keep our good name in the international community. We're also proud of what we did with respect to the administration of the courts and the registries. What was our first day in office? Actually in office, we got inaugurated on the 13th, and the 15th was our first day in office. On the 22nd, which was a week later, we opened the Magistrates Court, which had been closed since June. So that's something we did immediately. We opened it at a property at Fort Lands by the Cenotaph. We also at the first week in September, reopened the High Court Registry, which was also closed because of the mold issues at the Sir Lee Moore Judicial and Legal Services Complex. We got that up and running quickly. We also relocated the High Court. So the High Court began operations in September 2022 so that we did not get a backlog in criminal matters. So we're happy that the police training school allowed us to be there until June this year. And we are now in the final stages of moving the High Court temporarily next to the Magistrates Court at Fort Lands by the Cenotaph, so that by September 20th, when the High Court criminal and civil reopen, they will have a new temporary home with proper facilities for the judges, the staff, jurors, etc. So I visited the site last week, and there's great construction progress. I was happy to see around maybe 20 people employed doing that work on that temporary judicial center. So we're pleased about that. In terms of the administration of criminal justice, when I came into office, the DPP's office was dismantled. 3 of the senior lawyers in that office had resigned. Things were really bad there. So I convinced 2 of them to return, one being our acting DPP, and we recruited further counsel. We sent more staff, we recruited more clerks, and we've tried to give the DPP's office, which is a crucial constitutional office, as much support as we can give for them to be fully operational, because they are one of the most important offices in our country. We also set up a justice committee of the High Court judge, the senior police officers, the DPP's office, the magistrates, the Bar Association, to discuss improving administration of justice. Criminal cases take sometimes 3 to 5 years to come to resolution. I want that to change. I want that to be within 12 months to 18 months. So we devised a plan, and now we're working on a new criminal procedure rules, which will allow the process to be much quicker so that persons can feel that justice is being given swiftly. So that is something that we've started working on, and we're in the final stages of. We also, in the Attorney General's office and the Ministry of Justice Affairs, why I'm dressed so casually is that today we had our first ever ministry retreat, where every single staff member of the Attorney General's office and Ministry of Justice and Affairs met at Kuna, and we had team building exercises. We got, everybody went in different groups and expressed their concerns, from the clerks to the executive officers to the bailiffs to the magistrates to the registrars to the senior administrative staff. And I got around 70 comments on things that can be improved within the ministry. It was a wonderful day. We had fun exercises. We had conversations with each other. Persons in different departments in the ministries who never met each other were able to interact. And it was a very pleasing day for me. I want to thank the Permanent Secretary, Diana Francis, and the Assistant Secretary, Marita Smith-Francis, for putting that on. And for all the members, it was actually quite full. And I was very happy to see that probably 95 to 97% of all members of the Attorney General's Office and Ministry of Justice and Legal Affairs showed up. So that shows that there's a commitment to try to improve and to bring a better work environment and teamwork environment. Because when I got there, let me tell you, there was a, what's the word I could use? There was a malaise. There was a feeling that just going through the motions. And I said to them, we need to get the best out of each of you, because the Attorney General's Office and Ministry of Justice and Affairs is too important to the functioning of government for us to have persons just going through the motions. So we're trying to inspire people to be the best of themselves, and that was an opportunity to do that in a very casual setting. And also, I want to end by saying that we have negotiated with the Indian High Commissioner to provide legal training to officers, to provide textbooks to the ministry, and also to provide support in drafting our legislation, because we have such an aggressive legislative agenda. We need support, and India has volunteered to help us in that regard. So I am pleased with what we have done. There's always more that can be done, and I look forward to the second year of continuing. I am very tired. I don't know if you all see it in my eyes, but I'm just letting the people know I am taking a break. I am taking a vacation. People are human, and I've been going hard for 12 months. I think I earned it. And I don't need anybody else to tell me I earn it, but because I believe that we have all, everyone you see here, I'm so proud to be part of this team. Let me tell you, cabinet is one of the best times of my week because everybody here is capable, everybody here is competent, everybody here wants to do the best for the country, and it's just beautiful being part of this team. So I want to thank them for giving me an opportunity to come on the team, and I wish them the very best. And we're going to come back even better in year 2. I can promise you that.
Thank you very much. I am happy to be here with my colleagues. And as you know, my ministry is a very large one, but I won't be as long as the others, just to give us an insight of some of the low-hanging fruits that we were able to accomplish. I must say that when I took over as the Minister of Education and I started doing our school visits, immediately I recognized that renovation and upgrades must be a priority. And I'm happy to report this evening that some extensive work will be happening at most of our schools during the summer vacation. Just to give you an idea, the Irish Town Primary School, as you know, because of the incident, we were forced to put certain things in place. That site will be ready for September. We are 95% complete in terms of the renovation work, and for the first time in a long time, we'll be able to use the entire school. The Basia High School, the bids went out, and they are now at the procurement board. Yes, so that they can make a determination of who would have won. So by September, we will be demolishing our school. The Joshua Obadiah Williams Primary School, the tender documents will be released this month with mobilization projected for early 2024. That's the primary school in Molyneux. Tucker Clark Primary School, if you visit, you'll recognize that the bathrooms are under repairs. We're actually doing a brand new bathroom at the Tucker Clark Primary School. It's amazing that in St. Kitts, we have schools that had no windows and no doors and electrical issues. We are rectifying some of that over at the Keon High School as we speak. At the Charles E. Mills Secondary School, the contract for the bathroom project that is well on the way. Work will start immediately, and also the upgrade of the electricity there. I am super proud to announce to those of you here and who are listening, as it relates to our digital solution, in September we are going to be rolling out our laptops, one-to-one laptops and tablets. We are going to be starting, of course, with third to fifth farmers. And I must inform the nation that all devices will be equipped with a learning management system which gives students access to digitally interactive books. This allows students to access an online dictionary while using the books, take quizzes, end of chapter tests, videos to support the content. Teachers can also utilize this platform for planning features in preparing their lesson plans. So no longer would our teachers be writing out all of those lesson plans. And I'm happy, as you heard the Attorney General talking about our cabinet, I am happy to be among all of these super people, because yesterday they approved, or we approved, the finance that is needed to support our laptop one-to-one. So I am happy. And what is so unique about this platform is that parents can also track what's happening. They will know how long students are on the laptops, what problems they are encountering when they're going through the workbooks and the exercises, which problems specifically would have given them some challenge, which would give the teachers the opportunity to reteach or reorganize themselves. I'm also happy to report to us that about 6 students from the Clarence Fitzroy Bryan College, they were recommended by the Ministry of Education to participate in a training in Taiwan, the electric vehicle operation and maintenance training course in Taiwan, because if we are going to be providing our students with electric school buses, we must have persons trained, and we are happy to announce that 3 of our students from CFBC will be going off to Taiwan to access that training. This has been the most scholarships that we receive from Taiwan, Cuba, and Morocco. We're also working and building relationships with other universities. It's just this week I met with representative from the Southern University that's in New Orleans, who have signed a basic memorandum of understanding with CFBC. So students leaving CFBC can now head down to Louisiana for 2 years, paying in-state tuition. And that is a great accomplishment. Next month, I am off to Florida Memorial University, my alma mater, where I will be delivering a speech. And they too are working on a memorandum of understanding so that our students from CFBC would also have the exposure of going to Miami for studies. The AVEC, as we know it, the Advanced Vocational and Educational Center, we are going to change that name in September because of the new vision. It's going to be our National Training Institute, because we can't do things the way how we've been doing them over these years. We must change. So there are some drastic changes that will take place as we deliver the skills that's needed to take this country to number one. Those of you who walked in the area would also recognize that we have a big building that was just completed. Those persons in the tailors, they will see it. 6 classroom was sponsored by CDB, and that is going to be handed over. So we have more space. But what is unique about that building is that for the very first time, we are going to have a state-of-the-art smart classroom. A state-of-the-art smart classroom. And the reason for that is with all of the outreach that we are making for all of these universities to partner with us, we are saying to them that a lot of the courses that they would want to deliver, there wouldn't be any need for our students to go to St. Thomas or to go to Miami. Once we have the smart classroom, the lecturers can do the teaching wherever they are, and our students here benefit, taking advantage of the technology. Under early childhood, we were able to fill a gap in terms of resource teachers. They were lacking in that area, and we were able to fill that gap by providing them with that resource that they need. And I'm happy to announce that all of our preschools, public and private, are benefiting from teaching assistance that we provide as a part of our government way of assisting our providers. One of the things that I heard when I came in, and immediately I thought we needed to address it in early childhood again, is that vacations were only given in December. So what you found is that a lot of sick leave used to come in. When I got in, I literally think it might have been 85 in a short space of time. So immediately we put a task force together to look at how we can address that. And I'm happy to report that this year, our providers in our nursery, our government nursery, will be given vacation during this period, vacation in Easter, and they would also have their regular vacation in December. So that is a great accomplishment for those persons who are working there. In relation, as it relates to some new initiatives, quickly, financial literacy and customer service will be taught in all of our high schools. So when they're graduating with their 14 and 15 CXC subjects, they also get an opportunity to have a certificate saying that they went through some customer service and they had some knowledge of financial literacy. We are working on our YTC, that's our Youth Training Co-op. What this is going to do as a part of disciplining our students or introducing them to new ideas, they are going to be exposed to several training during their school time because we are changing the way how we did things, how we do things in school. And in this group here, what will happen is that those students will be exposed to EMT training, police, soldier, Coast Guard, and Coast Guard would also include our sea cadets and also fire. So when they are done, by the time they finish with fifth form, they should have already had an idea in their mind which career path they want to go in. Our primary school is going to have a new look in terms of the delivery of the programs. Some of them would be on a pilot basis because we can't do everything one time. So we're going to have primary school of linguistics, primary schools of the art, primary schools of fashion designs and nail techs. These are some of the things we're exposing our children to because we have to do things differently and the skills must start in our primary school. It is my hope after this new school year, by next school year, we will have, for teachers, we'll have our own teacher supply shop. Because when we went around, we asked them about a stipend that might be able to help them because teachers spend a lot of money ordering their stuff. And we came to a decision that we are going to come up with a stipend to our teachers. So what will happen from next school year, teachers will now take that stipend or that voucher that will be given to them, go to our teacher supply shop and be able to buy all of their school supplies from there. The Attorney General have been working very, very hard, and I always find an opportunity to give him additional work, and he is presently reviewing what was presented to him as our HERE policy. We are changing the HERE policy in St. Kitts and Nevis from September. No longer would children leaving preschool have to cut their hair to get into kindergarten. However, I must say, with every change, there will be rules, and we are going to govern ourselves accordingly. I will come back and address the nation as to the final package of what they must expect. But I say it now, so that those young men who feel that they want their hair braided, they don't have to cut their hair in the summer to go to school in September. A new thing that will happen, the Edgar T. Morris School will be a new primary school because if you were following Edgar T. Morris and the Estridge Primary School, we merged them. That is official in September, and they have already have the uniform, the crest, everything they did, and I am super proud of that. And what is going to happen where the Estridge Primary School is? That is going to house our second campus for our Cotton Thomas Comprehensive students. When that building was built, it was built to accommodate 50 students. We have way over 150 now. So those students only go, some go in the morning and some go in the afternoon. So we are trying to fix that, and they're going to be over at Estridge. While they're over there, after a while, that is going to be transformed into the the Cotton Thomas Comprehensive Compound, along with our autism or our spectrum center. This was a gift that I was able to negotiate with the government of the Republic of China, Taiwan, for one of our 40th anniversary of independence gift and their relationship. So we'll have a brand new campus over in that area during my first term. All of our high schools will be outfitted with a nurse. Nurses would be assigned to our high schools because of, some of the complaints that we've been having. Moving quickly on to housing, 21 houses. We have 21 houses, might be a little bit more now, that is under construction. But what is very happy, why I'm very happy, is that the 2,400 homes from East Coast Development that we have been talking about, they are actually on ground. They have started their work on the sample homes, that houses that would be delivered for us to see as a model. And then right after that, that is going to be the take-off with all of the houses that will be built. I know some persons would have applied online. I don't want you to be disheartened even if you are told that you're just qualified for a 1-bedroom. We are collecting that data because we were never good in St. Kitts, Nevis, of collecting data. We have about 3,700 plus persons who have already signed up. We know that it's not everybody would be able to meet our banks and our credit union. But once you sign up, you give us the information so that the National Housing Task Force will know exactly how and what other homes we need to be delivering. Homes will not be a problem in St. Kitts. That much we can guarantee to you. I'm happy in East Street, one of the family homes, and I'm seeing Miss Johnson right here, that has been demolished, and that is going to be turned into a state-of-the-art condo that will show how that entire street will look like. What will be unique about that project is that it will be a 4-apartment building, but the original owners of those properties will get the opportunity of an apartment. It doesn't matter how many. So one of the Johnsons must be in that apartment. So I just wanted to inform us. And then the West Street project is another project that I'm proud to announce that we are on our way now of having further discussion with the tenants or the persons who are occupying on West Street. We are looking at the relocation of them, and then we are going to take down the buildings there. We have a revitalization initiative that is going to take place, where persons with properties and abandoned lands have been reaching out to us in terms of selling. We are going to be purchasing as a corporation, NHC, and I really want to thank them for the work that they are doing, the chairman and the other members and the entire staff, so that we can build apartments in some of the areas, because we recognize not everybody would be able to own a house right now. But our job is to make sure that we bring about a change in your condition. So based on where you are, we know that you can't afford a house at this time, but we'll put you in an apartment that is an upgrade to where you are living, because that is how we are thinking about our people. And finally, on the human settlement, we have the eradication of the pit latrines. By 2025, only by choice, we will not have any pit latrines in St. Kitts. We are on a move right now to eradicate them, and we are doubling up our efforts right now. So by the time December comes, we would be able to knock off quite a lot. I am grateful to be a part of this cabinet. I want to thank God for the opportunity to be serving with the Prime Minister and my other colleagues, and I look forward to a better and a brighter future with us working together with Labour. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Prime Minister Jeffrey Hanley, for your presentation, and to the other ministers, thank you very much for informing our citizens and residents of what has been happening within our federation. Before we go to our question and answer segment, we have just a brief statement by Honorable Convis Maynard. He just wanted to make a quick comment before we proceed.
Yes, I wanted to announce to the nation that we have struck water in Keon today.
Wow. Wonderful.
So the next step now is to get to where most of that water is, and then we have to test it to see if it is potable.
Excellent. Thank you very much. There again, your government
Potable.
Working for you.
Potable. Some people say potable.
All right, as we proceed to the question and
Potato,
answer segment,
potato.
we already have a few questions coming in online. For persons who have questions, who are listening to our online viewing and listening audience, if you have any questions, please preempt your questions with the word question. So you type question, and then you type your question. Your question will follow after that, and we will be able to pick that up. We proceed with our audience here. If there's anyone who is willing to step up to the mic with your questions, please go ahead and do so. The mic is in the middle of the aisle.
Good evening once again. Thanks for this opportunity. Now, as the various ministries were presenting, I had a question for all of them. Now, starting with with Honorable Philip, with the lack of natural resources, what ideas are there for expanding our social services? We only have the human side of it. Okay, so I just wanted to share what ideas, new ideas you'll have to sustain this expansion of social services. The other area, when you spoke to maintaining the facilities, sporting facilities, I am concerned. So I'm raising two things. One, that there must be policies for use for sustainability. Over the years, we have been building the community use, and there's no care, especially the use of the lights. Now, I had the fortunate opportunity to go to South Africa, and I passed through England, and while driving from Heathrow to Gatwick, they have sporting facilities, but it belongs to a club. So persons had to be a part of the club to use the facilities. Here in St. Kitts, small St. Kitts, almost every community has a sporting facility with lights governed by government. When I was in St. Vincent some years ago, the national team There's a tournament down there, but the association has to pay for electricity. So that facility is only used during competitions. But yet you pass around and you see lights on and nobody on the court. I'm talking about maintenance for sustainability. Also, being part of NEMA and the District 1 volunteer, we have shelter issues. So I'm wondering that when we are upgrading these particular sporting facilities, we can also take into account that they become shelters. Many years ago, schools were shelters, but we have moved away from that. So in case there is a hurricane and we have damage, children can go back to school quickly. If they're used as shelter, children will be out of school. So schools are not there. So we are wondering if those facilities can also take into account for being shelter. For agriculture, how are we going to deal with the monkey situation? And the grid, 10 to 15 years, we would be, yes, talking about the roads. In 10 to 15 years, the roads should last 10 to 15 years. However, we have all types of vehicles running on all the roads. I remember when they were repairing the Bay Road, that road in Paul Drive in Pons Pasture was destroyed because of the heavy trucks. So how are we going to sustain that? We don't have space, so we can say trucks use road A. And so how are we going to do that in terms of when we repair the roads, we are looking at the weight and the quantity that it is being used. And also, we're talking about electricity. When are we going to return to or reinstall that solar farm that is on the Frigate Bay Road? Is there plans to include that in the grid? Right? So those are the areas.
So I think that's quite a bit of questions for our minister. So we'll proceed with our First Minister, Honorable Iselin Phillip.
Sure. Thank you very much for the question, Mrs. Monopol. Clearly listening. So your question about new ideas for expanding social services. Now, with this question, I actually want us to recognize that the advice we have gotten, particularly from IMF reports, is that we actually need to streamline our social services. And so the truth is, as we look at, especially in social development right now, what we're really trying to do is, as we deliver programs that we know we have had for quite some time and flagship programs, as we look at restructuring current programs, what we're really trying to do is also go through a research and data collection exercise where we can actually assess and get an idea and evaluate what the needs are of people who are most vulnerable so that we can actually then come together as a cabinet to be able to identify, well, if the problem is that we currently don't have a livable minimum wage, what do we do then to make it more sustainable for people to have money and rely less on social assistance? So, I don't want to say it's a wrong question, but it's not, the thinking is not about expanding social services so that we just increase our social assistance budget, because that is in fact not sustainable for us. And so what we're actually trying to do is, as opposed to trying to extend and expand social services, we're really trying to restructure our programming, collect more data, to do more analysis, and to do more interministerial work so that we can actually target the root causes of a lot of these problems. So we know food security is an issue, why we have a lot of plans and investment in agriculture. We know minimum wage is something that needs to increase because of inflation, which is why we're talking about increasing minimum wage so that it's livable. And so we know that energy is costly, so which is why we're looking at renewable energy solutions. And so what social services is doing through the ministry is really being able to feed in the information as to the reality of people's lives. And so we understand, of course, that people need assistance immediately, and we really try to service people who are most vulnerable. And so we also want to be able to apply conditions so that when we ask questions like, how are you using the PAP money? We're not trying to be invasive. We're just really trying to understand if it is that you're using this $500 to pay your lights, then we know, okay, energy is still expensive for people. If you're needing the money to pay for food, we know food is too expensive. What can we do to reduce that? And so that is really how we need to think about our social protection, our social services. We're really trying to see how we can identify what the real root causes of poverty are so that we can then provide analyses and evaluation to feed into more sustainable solutions. And that is really what we're trying to do.
Thank you, Minister Philip. Honorable Samuel Duggins, we have about 3 questions I will pose to you. The maintenance of the sporting facilities, what are the policies for sustainability? How can the sporting facilities, or if it can be used as shelters, and how will we deal with the monkey situation here in St. Kitts and Nevis?
Yes, I want to thank you for your questions. And I'll start from the top down. And so, as we talk about the sporting facilities, one of the things we've recognized again is the lack of maintenance and the lack of care. However, what we've been looking at from a sporting department standpoint is the use of these facilities by our clubs. You mentioned the UK and the ownership by clubs. The challenge for us is that most of them are multifunctional. And so we cannot really assign them to clubs. However, there are a number of clubs that use them predominantly, some of the facilities, and we are looking to see how we can instruct them to take more care. One of the other things that we are doing would be assigning staff members beyond the usual 8 to 4 working hours who can assist with the care of these facilities going down into the evening. And so we are piloting that at the moment, and I think that should bring some success. So that would help with the management. And again, it's one of the things that we are handed given the circumstance, but we are trying to see how far we could go in improving this situation. Now, as far as use of shelters, that already is happening. A number of our facilities are used as hurricane shelters. We want to make sure that they're in the ideal condition. So in the unlikely and the unfortunate is and I hope I could be saying unlikely more so going in the future, but definitely unfortunate circumstance that they ought to be used. We want to make sure that everything is functional so that our people could have ideal facilities. So in that case, yes, we already have some facilities being utilized, and we want to make sure we upgrade them so that they're properly in condition for use. The monkeys. We have been studying the monkeys along with some support from the Ministry of Environment. Yes, from Environment. And we are really taking note of some of their patterns, habits, and because we believe if we're going to do anything, it must be data driven. The truth is, the monkeys are, on one hand, a huge problem. Correct. And they are studying us as well. And they're a huge problem on one hand, but they have become so much a part of who we are on the other hand. And so whatever approach must be done so sustainably. I can happily say, though, from the agriculture department perspective, we have found some measures that we think we can take to ensure that the situation is properly managed. We've tried and tested some of these with good results. And so now we are planning to expand that effort. And over the next year or two, we should see some results that we could report on. And that report should mean more food in our country, happier farmers, and healthier people, while still having some monkeys to enjoy for the Minister of Tourism to continue bringing in more ships and planes. But yes, that is where we are with that.
Thank you, Minister Duggins. Minister Maynard, the questions I will pose to you are in regards to the road maintenance, since we have a few road construction that will be going on, the heavy trucks, the big trucks that will be traveling on the roads. How are we going to manage that? keeping the road sustainable? And the solar farm at Frigate Bay, will it be included in the grid?
Right. Thank you very much for those questions. Obviously, it is a challenge for us having limited space to reroute heavy type traffic if you're doing development in a particular area. However, that said, and I don't know if many of you know that Gath is actually a civil engineer, right? Sorry, Honorable AG is also a civil engineer. But when those things happen, it means that we should really look at the construction of the road to allow that to happen, because that should not happen if a vehicle that has, for instance, rubber wheels that are using the road, it should not happen that it destroys the road. So that means that we have to do some analysis of the sub base. The asphalt is, when you see something happen at the top of asphalt, it is usually emblematic, or emblematic is the right word? Sorry? That's the right word. Emblematic of something below. It means that it might not have been properly compacted. It might have soft spots, etc. So what that would encourage us to do is to make sure that in the construction of new roads, that it is up to the spec that it needs to be. That is why, for instance, when we're doing the St. Peter's Main Road, we are going to engage a proper project manager, and they will be responsible for ensuring that the contractor is following the specs to ensure we don't have to go back to that road in a short space of time. But additionally, we will look, especially since you've asked this question, to ensure that there are guidelines as to what type of vehicles can drive on our roads, because there are certain vehicles that should not drive on the road, like an excavator with the metal train, and other types of vehicles should not drive on asphalt roads. They must be carried on a trailer, a platform, and so on. So we look at those to ensure that if those are not mandated, that we mandate well, I think it should be, but we want to ensure that they're mandated, so only a particular type of vehicle can be on board. With respect to the solar panels, both that and the one at the airport will be under evaluation as to see if they can be recouped after they were clearly abandoned. In many cases, there will need to be a revamping of the panels themselves. And so we hope that that will be part of the project to include a larger solar plant into the system. But the intent is, yes, we are engaged to have both of those reintegrated at some point into the grid.
Thank you, Minister Maynard. We have 3 online questions. First question is for Minister Samuel Duggins. You mentioned about the grant for persons in the creative economy. Does that include students who want to go abroad to study performing arts, since it's not offered at CFBC currently? The second question is for the Deputy Prime Minister. Honorable Hanley, you mentioned various policies being implemented. Is there any update on the early childhood policy that speaks to the late pickup of children? And how do we address the staff who are frequently absent? The third question is for Minister Henderson. With the increase in airlift into the Federation, when do we see the development of a new and modern airport with jetways? As you know, several persons have problems with stairs.
Honorable Minister, maybe I should make an interject to inform the person, and we thank them for that question. One of the very first thing I did when I met with the staff, the president acting at CFBC, is indicated to them that this September, the performing arts must be reintroduced at CFBC, and that is in fact happening for this new school year, because they abandoned it and we were leading in the region, getting 100% passes every time we entered students. So that program will be offered in the new academic year at CFBC. And maybe I should before answer my question as it relates to the early childhood late pickup. We know that this is a challenge, and we are going to be working with the leadership of these centers to see how best we can assist. And one way of doing so is to change the working hours for some persons so that instead of they coming in at an early time, whether 7 or 8 o'clock, that person can come in whether 9, 10, because they know they're going to stay there until 4:30, 5 o'clock with children. Because the reality is, I honestly don't think a parent would deliberately pick up their child or children late because of their work schedule and things happen. These things happen. So that's part of us being innovative in education. So we are aware and we are going to address that. And again, the introduction of the vacation should be able to assist with the absenteeism that we are experiencing based on what the person was talking about. Yeah.
Yes. I think it's my turn now.
Yes.
And I want to start by saying thank you to the Honorable Deputy for intervening in the CFP matter with the Performing Arts program. That was something that a number of our practitioners complained about, and we got to work on it as soon as possible and with the help of my colleagues. And that's why I love this cabinet. A very collaborative cabinet, and we get the job done by collaboration. And so with the help of my colleagues, we've reinstituted that program this coming September. However, to address the further part of the question, the grants do not support that because they are smaller grants of $2,000 to $5,000 to help with equipment and travel for our creatives. However, I want to say that I have been in discussions, and hopefully they'll become fruitful in the upcoming months with Cuba, the ambassador to Cuba, and also India about programs for our performing arts as well. And so hopefully in the next few weeks to months, we should hear more about that and the successes, hopefully, of those discussions. Yes.
Minister Henderson?
Thank you for your question. The reality is we have outgrown the footprint of the existing airport. We hardly have space there. The other reality is that the airport is busy mostly on Saturdays. So we don't have the traffic on Mondays. We don't have it on Tuesdays. Going forward, we're going to have it on Wednesdays with the introduction of JetBlue. And now perhaps more British Airways as well on Friday. So we're getting there, but and I think, like I said, we've outgrown the footprint of the airport. Unlike the seaport, cruise terminal in particular, we collect head tax and we're paying on the improvements on the infrastructure there. The airport does not make as much as it should. So we need to be looking holistically at the airport. We have a team who is working on it. We understand that there's going to be the need for the expansion of the airport with the increased airlift. So we're considering everything holistically before we just jump and get a new airport. But it is a reality that perhaps might be something that might come to fruition sooner rather than later. Just wait and see.
Thank you, Honorable Masha Henderson. I will return to the floor. Are there any additional persons who wish to pose a question to the ministers?
Good evening. Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, concerning these houses that we're supposed to be building, these houses are bankable, but for me, the layman or the comrades or citizens most of them, they are not bankable. And so my question to you is, if you know the numbers that are bankable up to this time, and if it is low, I would like to know if something is being put in place to National Bank, our bank, the People's Bank, because I know over the years NHC would have a lot of problems in collecting monies. So I guess what you all are doing is to avoid that problem. But avoiding that problem could cause the next problem, and that is that our people, they are not in the position to be bankable. So what are we doing, or what you all are doing to help that situation? That's my question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Samuel Footman, for the question. I don't have in my possession the statistics on persons who would have been approved. But earlier in my presentation, I did indicate that the portal will be used for us to know exactly how we are going to design our housing solution to meet those needs. We know even before we design the portal that there's some persons who, if they had gone to the credit union or even the bank, and I must say the financial institutions are all on board, and they're also working out their own internal dynamics to assist in every way possible, because they know that is not everybody would be able to meet the normal banking obligation. But as a caring government, we are committed in assisting our people to become home owners. We also have a responsibility when these opportunities are given to you. We got to pay for our property. I inherited over $12 million being owed to NHC, and I heard it's more than that, where persons are in their homes renting to others, collecting their rent from other people, but they're not giving NHC the $450. The other reality we have to face as a country is that mortgage that were $450 in 1997 when the housing revolution started and I was able to benefit from a mortgage. It's going to be almost impossible for any mortgage for a 2-bedroom house to be anywhere close to $450. And in my time, that was for a 3-bedroom house. That is why I say we know that there are some persons who will not. But it would be better for them to be in an apartment, something similar to down the gardens, than wanting to have their own home and they can't pay for it. We are not helping them by doing that. So we are going to do all that we can to ensure that those low-income persons that I believe you're referring to, that certain cushion would be there for them, because just as our government subsidize all sort of other things, they have been subsidizing housing, and we will continue to do that. But it must be viewed as a priority, that this is an obligation that I have and not I don't have to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, and he meant Mr. Samuel asked about National Bank. As I said, all of the institutions are on board. National Bank is on the verge of rolling out their specific program that will be able to assist further as we move towards delivering homes. So give them a few weeks, and then the nation will know exactly what's happening. Thank you.
Okay, we have quite a few online questions, so we will rotate online and on the floor. The first question online: if we are planning to raise the minimum wage, are we planning to also raise the ministers' salaries to discourage the corruption, especially as they are among the lowest paid managers in the country? Minister Henderson?
Oh, yes.
That's above my pay grade. So, but I'm hoping that the ministers can in fact get an increase in salary. It's something I wouldn't. It's something that I would not be opposed to. Um, but that's above my pay grade.
And if I can interject just before the AG, in 2021, when I had the opportunity of participating in the budget of the former administration, I must say to us here tonight that there was an allotment of 85% increase in the budget of that year for parliamentarians. But you know what happened, so they weren't able to deliver. So it was already on the books. So I think the AG going to say something now.
The law in regard to salaries for parliamentarians and the speaker and other persons in the National Assembly is the Salary Commission legislation, which says that a committee should meet every 3 years to recommend to the Parliament what the salary should be. That commission is supposed to take into consideration inflation, look at factors such as comparatives in other jurisdictions with similar economies and all of those things. There was a report done in 2019 in relation to that legislation, and that is the legislation that the Honorable Deputy Prime Minister spoke about. So there was actually a report submitted, and there was the previous National Assembly approved the increase that was recommended by the commission. But the salaries, but because of incidents, they didn't get to actually trigger it. But the salaries for ministers have not increased, I think, in about 15 to 18 years, since I think 2006. A minister actually makes less than a permanent secretary after the most recent increase of civil service, the civil service scale last January, which increased 10%. So the PS's salary is more than the minister's salary. It makes no sense. I have read the 2 salary commission reports, the one that was prepared, I think, in 2005, which led to the increase then, and the one that was prepared in 2019, and they mirror each other. In order to discourage ministers being corrupt, they should be paid well. Also, ministers should not be paid less than middle managers in the country. Right now, ministers are paid probably equivalent to junior managers in the private sector. And the commission went through all of that. There was a report prepared by the former governor of the central bank, Sir Dwight Venner, of blessed memory, where he spoke to all of the reasons why minister's salary should be equivalent to a senior manager's salary in the private sector. Yes, you're doing a public service. However, you should be able to take care of your family while you do the work. There are lots of things you have to weigh. They have not recommended that ministers or prime minister's salary be equivalent to CEOs or general managers of private sector corporations, because you still have a public service role. But it should also be reasonable so that you can satisfy your obligations. And when the person comes with the potential bribe, you can tell them, no, I don't want that. And it's a discouragement. Now that we have strong anti-corruption legislation and integrity in public life, in my personal view, I think it's time for us to revisit those reports or potentially get a new report. but that is a decision that is above my pay grade, similar to what the minister said. But I just want to inform the nation that there actually is legislation that is created every 3 years, the income to be reviewed and a report submitted. And there was a report that was submitted in 2019 and accepted already by the previous parliament. However, this administration, before we even thought, or we decided actually, before we even consider that, we had to raise the minimum wage, we had to create jobs, we had to get economic activity going before we could even have that discussion. So that was a conscious decision that we made because the people come first.
Thank you very much, Attorney General, for that response. Do we have any more questions on the floor? Please step forward to the mic.
Everybody. First one is going out to Mr. Maynard. Getting straight to the point. I need an exact date when Monkey Road going to start because it's terrible. I ain't going to go on the bush. Terrible. So, for years now, even when the farmer prime minister and farmer, which is Douglas, come to Timothy, carrying home, and he looking after these people that we put there is living in a state of mind like the prison. This thing need to look after. It's terrible. I just go there and I sit and I just feel bad. And maybe me gonna end up there because me gonna drink my beers and tell you the truth. Understand? But the last one now, understanding Mr. Hendrickson, right? He was talking about the advance at the airport and so. But let me tell you, before you try to anything, our fire department is understaffed. And before you could try anything, it must be upgraded. That's number one. The 6x6 them what we're using up there, it just makes no sense. We need 8x8 to go with JetBlue, British Airways, and AA. Presently, 8 men work at the airport. If the FAA come here today, we fail. Just like when the Commander Timothy fail and he cover it down, nobody wants to know the truth. But the truth must be told. We need trucks up there, we need ambulance, and we need manpower. That's the only way we could conquer these things. And beyond the airport firefighting, is two different firefighting. Because you're looking at air drone firefighting, structural firefighting is BAST and these things. You understand? So these are the two different parts of the firefighting part and the fire station. Then you still got to look at the rescue part. You understand where I'm coming from? So it's a good idea to get the flights them come, but then we short staff. So we need the manpower. Beyond to that, we cannot get nowhere. And we have to start now, here. We know everything ain't happening one day, but we have to start now to get things in place, to conquer. Because if anything happen, we need that. We can't even depend on EMS because, as you look at it, one driver in Sunny Point, one in Molineux, one in Bastille. If we 3 ambulance got to go to the airport because fire have non-tal, and somebody taking somewhere, what can happen? So we need to start now. Okay.
No. I absolutely agree with you. We are working on filling the positions. The airport is highly regulated, so not only are there requirements for fire officers, but for security officers as well. And those are discussions that are being had with the minister responsible for the fire. But we've had that with the fire chief as well. There are positions that need to be filled, and that is being sorted out. So,
Thank you, Minister Henderson. We would proceed with the questions online before we go to the.
Oh, did you want me to respond to him? Oh.
Proceed with the question.
Okay, he wanted to know an exact date when the St. Peter's Main Road would start. Today. He said today, right? Yeah. So the exact date I can give you is, I think, August 3rd is the date when anyone who has an interest in building it must put in their bid. From that, an analysis has to be done. We do not know exactly. There's going to be a period where once the decision is made, goes to the procurement board, and there's a period where people can challenge. So we do not know exactly how long that will take. So unfortunately, I can't give you an exact date. All you must know, though, is that it's going to happen and it's going to start in a few weeks. And when we come closer, I'll be able to give an idea as to the exact start date. But it's going to happen. It's done, a done deal.
Thank you, Minister Maynard. Apologies. We are already in an hour beyond the time that we projected for the town hall, but we have quite a few questions online that are coming through. We will proceed with the questions online. I think there were two other questions that the gentleman had posed. The ministers will also respond to those, but I will read the questions online so that ministers can prepare themselves before we proceed with the program. So the questions online. Before the government changed back in 2015, the Embassy Suites by Hilton was being constructed but paused after 2015. Is a project that will continue so that we can increase the rooms? The next question concerning upcoming the computer laptop program, the one-to-one laptop program, what measures will be implemented to ensure that accessibility and stable internet is available at the schools for the teachers and students? Can someone in the diaspora contribute to Social Security? That's another question that was posed. And there's the question of renewing the different government IDs online. Will they be able to do that? Persons who are in the diaspora, will that be a possibility for them to renew their IDs online? Next question is for Dr. Hanley, Honorable Dr. Hanley. Person stated that you spoke of the NHC solutions for housing, but beyond those by the government, what are the solutions for rent control? Is that something that the government can assist with? Constitutional legislation is needed. Final online question, the shops over at Black Rocks, for persons who have applied for them, will any of them be ready for the upcoming season? Because they are persons who are eager to sell their craft. And the questions that were posed on the floor, just a reminder, the carding home, it needs dressing. It's in a deplorable state. They want a response to that. Minister Henderson already responded to the fire department question. And there was one question online that I overlooked. Honorable Jeffrey Hanley, this one was posed for you. What are the plans for the Sandy Point Nursery? They said the conditions are deplorable and unhealthy, and the metal building is deteriorating and needs desperate upgrades.
So I can offer just a brief response on the carding home question. So the carding home actually falls under the Ministry of Health. But of course, because it deals with a lot of seniors, we get a lot of calls at the ministry asking about putting persons in the carding home. And just by way of information, so people understand, you can contact the Ministry of Youth, Aging and Disabilities and ask questions about getting a senior into the carding home. We typically give referrals to the Ministry of Health for them to accept seniors and persons in that need. In terms of the state and condition, I've had conversations with Prime Minister, who is the Minister of Health, with the Carding Home Falls, and there are plans and there have been efforts already being made to, first of all, improve the quality of care. At the Carding Home, you would have seen a cohort of home care officers who have actually been stationed there. And just in terms of the infrastructure, of course, you recognize that it can be improved. And so there are already conversations and discussions around how we can improve the facility. But of course, we are working to make sure that we can improve the quality of care and deliver that care to the persons who are already in there. It is a small facility. We get requests all the time, but of course, there just aren't that many bed spaces. So we are working outside of that to see how we can support through our home care officer program so that we can keep seniors at home for as long as possible while we try to identify and improve on the facilities, which is something that is on the agenda, particularly through the Ministry of Health.
Yes, in respect of rent control, That recently got on our agenda because of complaints. There's a Rent Restriction Act which was enacted in 1954. So the first thing we have to try to do is modernize it, and that will allow for rent commissioners to be set up, because we realize there's a fundamental issue with the amount that people are charging for rent. We need to get that resolved. So that is on the immediate agenda. So hopefully within the next 2 to 3 months, we will have a solution that will actually allow the commissioners to be in place and to enforce the whatever the provisions are in terms of capping rent for certain properties.
Just before I answer those questions that was posed to me, as a follow-up to the question asked about the Cardin home, I must report that work is presently being done as we speak at the Cardin home in terms of repairs as they move towards dealing with the 100-bed. They're upgrading it presently. Thanks for the question as it relates to the one-to-one laptop. In terms of connectivity, the government has been engaged with the cable, and they are presently completing the project where they are laying the fiber optics that will feed all of our schools. And I think there's a terminology, Minister of Technology might have to assist me, that there's also going to be ear fiber where others would be able to bounce off of the main fiber optics. So that project is on its way to be completed. So all of the schools will be outfitted with the appropriate fiber that's needed. But I must say, it is a very costly venture as well. But we are working on presently our high schools, because it's just a matter of time before CXC goes all electronic. And with the Sandy Point Nursery, I believe a team should have already visited, because they had a team that was going around to do assessments of all of our schools. At least I saw reports in terms of what needed to be done. I will go back and check, but if nobody has come yet to the nursery down there, we are going to address it. But all of these things will take some time, but we are going to make sure we do our best. This is just our first year anniversary.
I think there was another question for you, Minister Hanley, with regards to the NHC. Oh, sorry, we already responded to the rent. Okay, and the laptop program. We had the question about Social Security. Sorry, can persons in the diaspora contribute to Social Security, and will they be able to renew the different government IDs online?
Right. That would be legislative.
But
You wanna
although I'm
take
not the
that?
minister with responsibility for Social Security, I am trying to understand, if somebody is overseas, how would they contribute to Social Security unless they're going to do it as a self-employed? Well, we take note of that question, and we would address it in a different forum, probably at one of our other press conferences.
Thank you, Minister Hanley. We have Minister Henderson with regards to the Black Rock, the shops at the Black Rocks. Persons are wondering when they will be available.
Okay, so we are currently working on doing some repairs there, along with the Whitegate Development Corporation, who is a partner there in Black Rock. So a number of the shops have been opened. We're working on some. If you're interested, you can come to the ministry and fill the application. They should be ready for the upcoming season. And as it relates to the embassy suites and whether they would be added to our room stock, one of the first developers who came and sat with me when I became the minister were the developers for this particular project. I know they're working with the minister responsible for economic development and Skipper to sort out just to regularize their application for a number of things that would accommodate them completing the project. So that is the hope. Once they are able to get the relevant approvals, then they should be able to complete the development.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all of the ministers for facilitating and so ably responding to your fellow citizens. I'm sure that everyone is quite pleased with the information that has been provided thus far. And I wish to thank the audience as well for being so engaging. And at this point, we'll pass it over to the Deputy Prime Minister, who will give closing remarks, and that will be immediately followed by a cultural presentation by our drummers. We have Mr. Royd Phipps, Mr. Dishon Phipps, and Mr. Kenny Martin, who will be performing for us.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Falance, our press secretary. And I must express sincere thanks to all of you in the audience and all of those who asked questions. Mrs. Emily Tawana Paul, who participated via delivering our prayer. I am extremely proud of our A team and the cabinet that is here with us. And this is just a glimpse of what true leadership looks like. Because here is it, our prime minister who could not be here with us because, his father will be buried tomorrow, and senior minister who is away, we were able to deliver to the Federation a town hall discussion of top class. And I want to thank all of my cabinet colleagues for a job well done. And to you, the audience, again, thank you for coming out. And I must say to those who were in the virtual audience, thousands are logged on. We want to thank you. And even those in the diaspora, we want to thank you for tuning in. And as we continue to interact with the citizens, please feel free at any time to send us your questions and your concern. Thank you very much. I will be entertained now with the drummers.
Well done, well done. I don't know about you, but I always thoroughly enjoy the drummers. So the djembe drum does something to the spirit. Thank you very much for a wonderful performance. And thank you again to our ministers for coming out and engaging with us and providing us such a wonderful update of all the work that you've been doing over the past year. Thank you for tuning in. This was our National Town Hall meeting.